So we dedicate this slide as usual to the founder Acharya of International Society for Krishna Consciousness, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Anandana Shalakaya Chakshorumilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा गदामायं ददाति स्वापदन्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापरकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साकटादं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवम् श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोऽस्तुते जयतं सुरतौ पङ्गोर्ममामन्दामतिर्गति मत्सर्वस्वपादम्बोजौ राधाः मदनमोहनो नित्याद्वृन्दारण्यो कल्पद्रुमदः श्रीमद्रत्नागदौ सिंहासनस्थौ श्रीमन्दातः श्रीरघोविन्ददेवौ प्रस्तालिभिः सेव्यमानो स्मरामि श्रीमन् रासरसारम्भी वंशिवतस्ततस्थितः कर्षन् वेणुस्वनर्गोपीर्गोपीनाथाः श्रीयस्तुनः प्राप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गे राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे राम हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे राम हरे हरे ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयं धर्म प्रोजितकैतवो अत्र परमो निर्मत्सराणां सतम् completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. This Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth. Idyam vastavamatra vastu shivadam tapotrayoन्मूलनम्. This Bhagavata Purana is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion. For the welfare of all such truth uproots the threefold disbeliefs. Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim Va Pare Ishvarah Sadhyo Hridi Avarudyate Atra Kritibihi Shushrustubhistakshanat Nigamakal Phalam Sutamukaram Gatadhara Samhitam Pipata Bhagavatam Rasamayam Mukuraho Rasita Bhudi Bhavakaha नास्तप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भागवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी इदं भागवतं नाम पुराणं ब्रह्मसंहितम् उत्तमश्लोकचरितं चकार भगवान् ऋषिः निःश्रेयसाय लोकस्य धन्यं स्वस्ति अयनं महत् मयि मे अनन्तविषया मतिर्वधुपतिया सकृत् प्रतिम् उद्वहत तदा गङ्गेवगं मुदन्वती. O Lord of sweetness, as the Ganga forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you alone, without being diverted to anyone else. Om Vishnupadaya Krishnaprasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vidna Vinashana Narasimhaiti Namine मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयितुं गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरु दिनकारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यम् ईश्वरं तत्सत्. So Hare Krishna everyone. So welcome to our Srimad Bhagavatam session today. And we are doing Canto 2, Chapter 4. So this is titled, so it's a new chapter, Process of Creation. This is the title of the chapter. Right. So let's recap what we've done previous session. So we completed chapter 3 in our previous topic. So chapter 3 was entitled pure devotional service, right? So that topic but before chapter 3, let's look at what we did in chapter 1. So chapter 1, Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 2 is Sukadev Goswami beginning to describe step by step the process of realizing the absolute truth. So the most basic of all process, which is meant actually not for the people of this age, which is actually meant for those, from previous ages, and for those who are not willing to accept the Lord as Bhagavan. So for those people, so for such people who are disobedient to the will of the Lord, do not want to pay obeisances to the Lord, they don't want to accept Lord as a supreme being. So to such people, then uh, the process of devotional service is first given in a very diluted form. So the first step of God realization is they must just at least wake up, and they must realize the futility of material existence. That is the first thing. They must realize that this strategy of sense gratification, trying to gratify the senses, this strategy of living, of trying to gratify the senses, has to stop, because it's leading nowhere, and it's only leading towards continuous cycle of misery. So the moment they wake up from this, because most people in this world, they're all into gratifying their senses. Everybody just wants to have fun. They just wants to enjoy. They just want to do everything, but they are not thinking of what happens to the future. Everybody thinks that nobody will die. Everybody thinks they just go on. We every day we make our plans, thinking that we will continue living, and thinking that our plans will continue going on. So we have to first wake up to this understanding that the nature of this material creation, right? So I'm here. Why am I here? Who am I? Why is suffering coming to me even when I'm not looking for it? So what's the nature? What is the factors? What are the parameters that control all this? So the relationships between the jiva, the material creation, prakriti, and with relation to time, kala, and in relation to and in the interaction of these three, we produce karma, which binds us to this material creation and forces us to go through different types of problems. So that's that's three things. What did I mention? Prakriti, the jiva, prakriti, kala, and karma. Four things. So there is one more, and that one more is Ishvara. So these five topics, right? It's what basically spiritual life is all about. We have to become awake to the fifth topic, which is Ishvara. So we have to understand that there is a supreme being. But if the people in this world don't want to accept there's a supreme being, they are very stubborn about it. Because why they don't want to accept? They don't want to accept there's a supreme being simply for only one reason. The reason, even all the scientists and everything, they try so hard to not accept the existence of an incredible God. Why? Because, in fact, some of them admitted, I have some quotes of some of these scientists who have admitted, the reason they don't want to accept God is because they have to accept that there is a master. That's number one. And number two, when there is God, when there is master, they have to follow the rules set by God, which they don't want to follow. So, in spiritual life, there are different rules. No meat eating, no causing harm to other people. So these kind of things. So, but they don't want to follow any of the rules except whatever rules they set for themselves. So therefore, easier to just deny, okay, reject, okay lah, no God lah. So no God means no rules. So then I can do whatever I want. I can marry whoever. I don't even have to marry. I can do whatever I want. I can eat whatever I want. So that is basically the reason people don't want to accept. But material creation is such that eventually it will force the person going through his life. They will go through various frustrations and various, all their plans for material enjoyment will end up in just frustration most of the time. And after many, many experiences like this and going through many, many cycles, many, many lifetimes, the collective experience they feel, the trauma of it, then eventually they will start thinking. Then force, they will, that's what they say, circumstances will force people to think. If certain circumstances don't come to our way, then we won't start thinking. We will just take everything as it is and move on. So circumstances come in such a way sometimes that we have to pause and think why this is happening to us. Why? So when one thinks like that, then one begins to realize, okay, I think I understand the nature of this material world. Now let me get out of this. But still, there are people who still cannot accept God. So to be merciful to all these people, the Lord gives them the pathway of yoga. So step by step, slowly, because ultimately the only way to escape from this existence and permanently solve the problem of this cycle of birth and death, permanently, yeah, that means never, never, ever coming back. That can only happen when the soul is completely attached to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So, from to come to that platform for a person who cannot even accept what is God, it's quite a bit of a journey, right? So one thing, the Lord doesn't force. So the Lord doesn't force people. And because we have already we have made the choice to leave the Lord and come to this material world away from Him. So the Lord doesn't force Himself on us. So He doesn't purposely show certain miracles. He doesn't come in front of our eyes. And, then it will be a forced thing. Then we'll be forced to. So that is the promise that the Lord has given us when we came here to this world, that He will not force. So, but the Lord doesn't leave us because He's a responsible parent who is loving. So therefore, when a child goes astray and says, I don't want you to the parent doesn't just leave it like that. They may temporarily, okay, now, okay, the child doesn't want to see me, okay, fine, I will stay away for a while. But they will they will try to see in different ways so that the child won't look. So in different ways, the parent tries to bring the child back. So the Lord produces different types of processes, so that so many processes are there given in the scriptures, right? But they can be divided into two categories. One process is the process of gradual elevation. Another process is a quick elevation. So the gradual elevation process, there are also many categories there. So it takes time. So then, so therefore we heard about chapter 1, the first step of God realization. We talked about the first level of God realization is to understand that everything is spiritual, that the whole creation, including ourselves, right, is spiritual. And this level of understanding comes with the appreciation that the universal structure is also spiritual. So in this way, they start meditating. So meditation was given to this process. So they don't want to bow down their head. It's very easy to just bow down the head to the Lord, but there are people who don't want to bow down their head to the Lord. So they want to be independent. So therefore, the very difficult process of yoga, which is meditation, is given to them. So they have to practice very severe austerities because they have cut off themselves from the mercy of the Lord. The Lord wants to be merciful, but they don't want to accept the Lord's mercy. So they've cut off themselves. So then it becomes a very difficult climb. We've heard in Bhagavad Gita chapter 6, how the yoga process of meditation is so difficult. Arjuna says right in the end, so it's so difficult, this yoga process. So yeah, but it is possible. It is definitely possible, Krishna says. But it's very, very difficult. and a very unhappy process. But Krishna says, that's another process. That's the pure devotional process. But, so gradual, step by step. So Sukadev Goswami first talks about the meditation process, how one should shift from meditating from nothing to meditating towards light, and from meditating from light to meditate on the personal feature of the Lord, such as the not directly personal feature, but at least start meditating on the different levels of the universe. So indirectly, they will connect with the personal feature of the Lord, because the Lord represented himself in the universe indirectly. So, like the lower planetary systems are his feet and his legs, the upper planetary systems is the upper body and the head. So, in this way, when one meditates on a certain planetary system, indirectly he's meditating upon the universal form of the Lord. So, in this way, the Lord tricks them, and in one way, so they get purified along the way, but because they are indirectly connecting to the Lord, the mercy of the Lord starts flowing faster, so their purification becomes more. So but still it's a very small trickle. So that's one thing. So we heard about that in chapter 1. Then in chapter 2, that's the next level of realization of the Lord. So one is Brahman, and meditating upon the Brahman, and from Brahman they switch towards the universal form, which is the Virat Rupa. And from Virat Rupa, they begin to understand, they go further, then they begin to understand that there is Paramatma. Within our heart itself, there is the Lord. Within every atom, every space in between atom, also the Lord is everywhere. So then the Lord in the heart was described in chapter 2 in quite detail, right? The description of the Lord in the heart, how his activities are. So, I mean, what is this purpose? What does he do for us? So all this we discussed in chapter 2, right? So anyway, so that is what we did in chapter 1 and chapter 2. So, and in chapter 2 also they talked about the journey of the unsuccessful yogi and the successful yogi. So the successful yogi will attain Paramatma, and from Paramatma then he will go to the spiritual world. But for the unsuccessful yogi who still has material desires, cannot attain Paramatma, so what does he do? So then he follows the path of Krama Mukti, gradually going from one planetary system to another until he reaches Brahmaloka. And in Brahmaloka, he will remain with Lord Brahma, getting Brahma's association of a pure devotee. And in this way, he will perfect his yoga. And then finally, when Brahma dies, after trillions of years, then only they can come out from the cycle of birth and death. So it takes a very, very long time. But at the end of chapter 2, Sukadev Goswami tells that the best process is Hari Namanu Kirtanam, to chant the holy names, the Nama of Hari, and to perform Kirtan, to Shravan and Kirtan, to hear. So that is the ultimate goal of all spiritual understanding, to come to this platform. So then comes chapter 3, the change of heart. So when one goes like this, level by level by level, gradually the heart changes, and as the process becomes more powerful, because first there is meditation. No, then after the meditation, there's from Paramatma, then they become devotees, bhakti yogis. They start becoming devotees, but it's mixed devotion. So the process is powerful in mixed devotion, but because their motivation is not pure, so the result of the process is diluted a lot. So therefore, it takes a longer time. But when they gradually perform this, from mixed devotion, they gradually come towards pure devotion. So when pure devotion comes in their heart, then the heart begins to melt. The process becomes very powerful. The heart begins to melt. So we heard about this in chapter 3, right? So in chapter 3, just to quickly recap, it started by Sukadev Goswami trying to test Parikshit Maharaj. Okay, so now I'm telling you, now I'm going to tell you all the different devatas you can worship in order to get many desires. So if somebody has, different kinds of desires called kama means desires. So, if they have kingdom, desire of kingdom, then they should worship Indra. They desire great powers, then they should worship Lord Shiva. They desire great material opulence, then they should worship Durga. So like that, different devatas were described just to test, are you attracted towards any of these? And then at the end also, he will say that whether you have sarva kama, all kinds of desires, or whether you have no karma, that means even if you have, let's say, you're completely satisfied, you don't have desire, that means you're liberated, right? Still, all, whether you're sarva kama or no karma, still you should worship the Supreme Lord, Vishnu. That is the best, right? So there was a very famous verse which mentioned that. So anyway, so then it went on. All roads are but a means towards bhakti. So this is mentioned. Every spiritual pathway, whichever way it starts from whichever lower position it starts from, it must ultimately come to this point of bhakti or devotion to the Supreme Lord. It must bear the fruit of love for the Supreme Lord. That is the success of any kind of spiritual pathway. So, but it can only come, this path, it can only bear that fruit if the key component is introduced. The key component is that they must somehow or other have some contact with a pure devotee. Because only the pure devotee carries the seed of pure devotion. Nowhere else can you get pure devotion. It's a very exclusive seed. Some things you can get from the supermarket. You can go here, you can go there, and you can get. But this seed of pure devotional service is very exclusive. Direct sales, direct marketing people only, and the direct marketing people are the devotees of the Lord. Only they carry the seeds. So somehow or other you must come in contact with them and serve them, and then get the knowledge, and then the seed will be planted in our heart. So that was mentioned. So Harikatha Sushrushatam. So one should be very eager in the execution of the process of this devotional service. And this process of devotional service begins with Shravanam, and then Kirtanam. And then these two processes must go on for a long time, right? And we have to do it eagerly. So therefore, and this is the, and we must hear as far as possible from a pure devotee, if we can get them, right? And everything is futile if one does not engage in Harikatha. So there are so many rules and regulations sometimes. Sometimes people will do all kinds of rules and regulations. Even nectar of instruction, Rupa Goswami says, tat tat karma pravartanat. So there are so many rules and regulations, and people sometimes get lost in the rules and regulations. They become obsessed with the rules and regulations, and they start, thinking that that is everything. And what happens is they start judging other people. They start thinking they are very great, and they start offending other people. So these three things happen, and then finish. Their entire devotional service is ruined and destroyed. So that is Tat Karma Pravartana. One should not perform regulative services simply for the sake of performing them. It should be for the sake of pleasing the Lord, and that means avoiding offenses very, very carefully. A lot of people, sometimes they tell, I don't see the Lord. I've done so much of devotional service. I don't experience anything. Oh, so many years. That's because they are not following it very, very carefully. Devotional service has to be very carefully followed as per the regulations in the scriptures. Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita has to be very carefully followed. Nectar of devotion, nectar of instruction, right? These things have to be followed very carefully under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. Then devotional service will bear fruit, right? Then one, because it says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, Rajavidyam Rajaguhyam Idam Pavitram Uttamam Pratyakshavagamam Dharmyam Susukam Kartum Abhyayam. This knowledge is the king of knowledge. King of knowledge is also called the king of secret. So that means it's secret and it's the most potent. So something which is secret, it's not, one has to study it very carefully from the scriptures. It's hidden inside the scriptures, and one has to look at it. We have to hear it. That's why hearing is so important. Then only we'll get the point, the whole point of spiritual life. Otherwise, we'll get lost with all kinds of desires. We think that, oh, spiritual life means doing this, or doing that, doing that. Oh, I've done this, I've done this, I've done so many, my numbers are very high, I've done so many statistics. So, no, that is not the point. The point is, you know, so people get lost in all the statistics, and what's worst is they start judging people. They think they are, even in Bhagavad Gita chapter 12, Krishna clearly says, a pure devotee has nothing to do. So he is only satisfied in hearing and chanting and remembering. And then Krishna says, if you cannot do that, then you take up the regulative process of devotional service, which is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. So do it in a regulative form, even if you don't have and in this way, develop a desire to attain me. If you cannot develop a desire to attain me, if you cannot even follow the four regulative principles and chant Hare Krishna 16 rounds, then Krishna says, then you work for me, right? So that is what happens if people cannot do. So then they work for him. So they perform many different services to help the movement, to help the devotees, to various, because people, the whole problem is they are not attached to hearing and chanting. So therefore, Prabhupada said many times, you all cannot just hear and chant. So therefore, you're not attached just like that. So therefore, I have to create so many activities for you so that you become somehow or other connected to the Lord. So, but this is not, this is karma mishra bhakti. It is not pure bhakti. So one has to somehow or other put some effort to develop taste for chanting and hearing. Then it is pure bhakti. For with the full motivation of pleasing the Lord. That has to be the only motivation. It cannot be any other motivation. Right? So everything is futile if one does not engage in Harikatha. So that's the point in chapter 2. Right, so now coming to our chapter 4. So in chapter 4, just a moment. So in chapter 4, it begins with this, where Sutta Goswami, now coming back to the conversation. So remember, Srimad Bhagavatam is a double conversation taking place. The original conversation is between Sukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj, where Parikshit Maharaj is cursed to die. He's fasting in the banks of the Ganga. The sages come from all over the universe, and Sukadev Goswami also comes and he puts questions to them. And one of those sages there was Sutta Goswami. So Sutta Goswami was in the assembly hearing it. So after that conversation finished, then Sutta Goswami went away, and along his wanderings, he came across Naimisharanya after many years. And in Naimisharanya, there were a collection of thousands of sages who were performing fire sacrifices. So then they had a conversation there between the Sutta Goswami and the leader of those Naimisharanya sages, which is Shaunaka Rishi. So then two conversations are taking place. So Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 1 begins with the conversation between Sutta Goswami and Shaunaka Rishi. Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 2, it moves towards the conversation between Sukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. That's when Canto 2 starts. Before that, Canto 1, it's all Sutta Goswami and Shaunaka Rishi. So, but in between here and there, as we go from here, this canto, it will sometimes focus on Sukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj's conversation. Sometimes it will focus on Shaunaka Rishi and Sutta Goswami. So now we are going back to Sutta Goswami. So Sutta Goswami is saying, Sutta Uvacha, he's narrating, because he's narrating what happened between Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadev Goswami. Okay? So Sutta Uvacha. So he's saying, the son of Uttara, Autaraya, Autareya means the son of Uttara. Uttara is the wife of Abhimanyu, right? Whose son is Parikshit. So we heard all about that in Canto 1. So the Sutta Vacha Autareya, after hearing the speeches of Vyasaki, Vyasaki is it basically means the son of Vyasadev. So the son of Uttara is hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from the son of Vyasadev, Vyasaki, that is the name of Sukadev Goswami, which were Tattva Nischayam Atmanaha. Tattva means the truth. Nischaya means all about the truth about the self, Atmanaha. So this conversation between Sukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj is all about tattvas, and not just any tattva, the topmost tattva, which is the truth about the self and the Supreme Lord also. So because the self and the Lord is never separated. That's why the Paramatma is always with the self. So Sutta Uvacha, after hearing the speeches of Sukadev Goswami, which were all about the absolute truth, about spirituality, the topmost spirituality, then what did Parikshit Maharaj do? He applied his concentration, matim, faithfully, satim, upon Lord Krishna. So this is very, very important, this point, right? So after hearing what should we do in our activities, in our daily activities, in our devotional service, we have to perform our devotional service with concentration, matim. That means not as a part-time, not as a light-handed thing, like chanting and looking at phone, so things like that. No, one has to concentrate to the extent that we focus. To that extent, our devotional service becomes better and better, right? And another important point is satim. Satim comes from the word sati. Sati means chaste. One of the qualifications of ladies, one of the good qualities of ladies is chastity. Actually, it's the most important quality in a lady, and that is called chastity. Chastity means one is very chaste to her husband. So only thinks about the husband, doesn't think about anybody else, doesn't glorify anybody else other than her husband. So that is called chaste. So and here the word chaste is being used in relation to devotional service. So what does devotional service and chastity has to do with each other? So that means when we are taking up devotional service, we should be fully surrendered to only devotional service for all our satisfying everything, to solving all issues. So devotional service is the only pathway, it's the only medicine, it's the only food, it's the only activity, it's the only thought, it's the only everything, right? So we have to learn to mold our lives and bring Krishna as the main focus in every sphere of activity in our life. So that means Krishna is there in everything. That is chaste. So, for example, we don't go and one who is chaste to the Lord, right? He may chant Hare Krishna, but then when somebody comes and he has some problems in his life, immediately he goes to the astrologer, and then the astrologer will say, "Do this puja, that puja, this puja." Oh, you're okay. I will do this puja. So they don't have faith. They are not chaste to the chanting of the Lord, chanting of the holy names of the Lord, because the holy names of the Lord is Chintamani. And if the Lord wants, he can do anything. The holy name of the Lord is all powerful. Sometimes certain situations happen to us because the Lord wants to teach us things. He wants us to renounce. He wants us to learn lessons. He wants us to introspect. He wants us to improve in our devotion. So he wants to test us to see to what extent are we, so therefore, these are some of the things. And it's also to teach other people. So what happens to our lives is to teach, to serve as an example and as a warning to other people. So in many, many situations, these things happen. So this is our opportunity to show our chastity to our Lord and to the process of devotional service. So that's very important. Satim. So Prabhupada makes a comment here. It's very, very important that one who is in the path of pure devotional service, chastity to the process, to devotional service, to the Lord is most important. Okay. Uh, so, so this was also testing the fact, because Sukadev Goswami was testing Parikshit Maharaj, right? He was testing Parikshit Maharaj's chastity. That's why, after talking about the Paramatma, Lord in the heart, and giving a hint towards the Bhagavan realization, he started immediately talking about, oh, you have different desire, then, worship this devata, worship that devata, worship so many different devatas. But Parikshit Maharaj, he was not disturbed, right? So we will hear about how he was not disturbed also. He was focused only. In this chapter, we will hear more about. So Prabhupada says the whole Vedic adventure is to draw one's attention entirely unto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna without diversion. That's why, before we began the Srimad Bhagavatam also, there was this verse we always say, Twayi me ananda vishaya matir madhupati asakrit ratim utvahata dada gange vavgam mudanmatihi. Kunti Maharani, in her maturity, she starts praying to the Lord, Oh Lord, sever my affection for my kinsman, sever my attachment to everything. Let the difficulties and calamities come again and again, because that means I will be able to remember your lotus feet more and more poignantly. So, and in this way, let my attraction become only fixed to your lotus feet alone, just like the river Ganga flows incessantly towards the ocean. So, in the same way, let my attraction only flow towards your lotus feet and to nothing else. So this is the whole point. Kunti Maharani is saying the whole point of the entire Vedic scriptures. So Prabhupada says the whole Vedic adventure. So it's very interesting play of words. So, the Vedic scriptures, there are so many pathways, so many schools of thoughts, so many different approaches, but it's all different ways to catch the different fish out there in the ocean. Different fish needs different types of net. So different types of nets were strewn about by the transcendental fisherman Lord Krishna to catch all the fishes swimming in the ocean of material nature. But ultimately, it must gradually come to a point where they choose bhakti. So that has to come, right? So that's why even in Bhagavad Gita, there's nice verse in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, verse 15, famous verse 15:15. Sarvasvachaham hridi sanivishto mata smritirjnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarver aham eva vidyo vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham. By all the Vedas, Vedanta krit eva vidyo, by all the Vedas, I am to be known. So the goal of everything in the Vedic scriptures is ultimately to know Krishna and to surrender to Krishna, right? So that is the idea behind it. So anyway, so now continuing this conversation. So Sutta Goswami is saying what happened after hearing everything, chapter 1, chapter 2, right? So what did Parikshit Maharaj do? So Parikshit Maharaj, now see, we can see here, this is the proof that Parikshit Maharaj was chaste. So Parikshit Maharaj didn't get deluded by the different descriptions of the Sarva Kama, how to attain the different desires by worshipping different devatas, performing various processes. He wasn't disturbed. So instead, what he did, applied his concentration faithfully, satim, upon Lord Krishna. So the word Krishna was mentioned specifically in this verse. So, and consequently, as a result, what happened? Thus, Maharaj Parikshit, as a result of his wholehearted attraction for Krishna, so he developed wholehearted attraction. Actually, Maharaj Parikshit was very fortunate. He was before he was born itself, he already had wholehearted devotion to Krishna. So, and because he saw the Lord within his womb, within the womb of his mother, and the Lord saved him. So instantly at that time, it was love at first sight. So the child within the womb saw the extremely beautiful form of the Lord, and it was just love at first sight. And the attraction he developed didn't leave him even when he was born, and it went on with him throughout his life. So he spent his entire life searching to find that same person that he saw within the womb. So this was Parikshit Maharaj. So he already had that attraction. That's why he was called Mahabhagavata, great devotee. So he was very fortunate. So someone who's born like that, you can understand that they actually, it just doesn't happen just like that. It happens due to after many lifetimes, right? Or they come from the spiritual world directly. So, or they are continuing in their devotional service. So people, in devotional service, one continues until one comes to the topmost platform if they desire. If they don't desire the topmost platform, then they can attain liberation, stay in Vaikuntha planet. But that doesn't mean they have Krishna Prema. They may remain in Vaikuntha, right? But they may not have Krishna Prema. So then eventually they will come down again into the material nature. They cannot remain eternally. So by their own will, they will leave. So, but the thing is, the real goal of life, right? Tata prema bhaktim swakamai prayacha namuksha graho mesti damodareha. We sing in the Damodar Astakam. Tata prema bhaktim swakame prayacha. It's prema bhaktim, which is the main goal of life. Prema pumarto mahan. So that is what ultimately we are looking for. That is the goal of pure devotional service. Pure devotional service is not looking for liberation. It's not looking for escape. It is looking for pure service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Maharaj Parikshit, as a result of his wholehearted attraction, now he was born at having this attraction for the Lord, and he then what happened? Situation in his life happened in such a way that he gave up everything and he met a transcendental person. This is what Krishna will do. If Krishna sees that we have attraction for him, even a little, Krishna will arrange situation in such a way that he will arrange that we come in contact with the pure devotee. So this is what Krishna wants. Krishna never accepts anyone directly. He wants everybody to go through the system of a pure devotee. Why? Because he wants to glorify the pure devotee. He wants to glorify the process of devotion, and he wants to teach the bhakta in humility. So therefore, he goes through, connects him to the pure devotee. And Parikshit Maharaj was therefore connected because of what happened to him, because of the situation with the cursing. He got connected to Sukadev Goswami. And that was the success of his life. Then what happened? His attraction, as he start hearing more and more from Sukadev Goswami, the attraction which was already very strong in his heart started to become, like barfi. Like when you cook barfi, when you make barfi, you are thickening the milk. The milk becomes thicker and thicker and thicker and sweeter and more flavorful. So that's what happened to Parikshit Maharaj. So Parikshit Maharaj, as a result of his wholehearted attraction for Krishna, was able, so as a result, what happened? He was able to give up all deep-rooted affection. So this is what Krishna consciousness does for us. If we want to know whether we are making advancement in Krishna consciousness, the test of it is to see that there are several tests. One of the tests here it's mentioned is that we have to start, we should be able to give up deep-rooted affection. It should not that we sever and just leave away, not that we leave everything and run away, no, but it should not affect us so much. So this is what is happening. So he was able to give up all deep-rooted affection. What deep-rooted affection? All deep-rooted affection for his personal body. So, Yudhishthira Maharaj tells Yamaraj that Yamaraj asks many questions to Yudhishthira Maharaj. What is the thing one is most attached to? So Yudhishthira Maharaj says the most prized possession, the most greatest attachment of a person is his body. So, and Indra also had a conversation with what's the name of that person? I forgot the name, but there was a anyway, I can't remember. Dadichi Muni. So because there was a past time where Indra was in trouble again, There was a very terrible demon, Vrittasura, who was extremely powerful, who was defeating him. So, and the only way he can kill him is if he makes a weapon from the bones of the body of Dadichi Muni. So Dadichi Muni is a great Muni. So then he went to Dadichi Muni and then he told this Muni, "Oh Muni, I am in trouble. So the only way I can be away from this trouble to save myself is if I make a weapon and defend myself with this weapon. But the problem is this weapon comes from the bones of your body." So Dadichi Muni, he was renounced, but he wanted to play some jokes. I mean, test Indra a bit. So he started having a conversation with Indra. Don't you know, Indra, that the life, because if you want my bones, then I must give up my life and I must give up my body. So don't you know this body is the most prized possession of a person? Because without the body, you cannot do anything. You may have all your desires are in the mind, which is in the subtle body. But if you don't have a material gross body, you cannot act on those desires. You will become frustrated, and that's how ghosts are. So this is the nature of ghosts. They don't have a material body, but they are full of desires. So they go mad with cravings. So that's what happens to them. So anyway, so it's very difficult to give up affection for the personal body, but Parikshit Maharaj was able to give up instantly all deep-rooted affection for the personal body, for his wife, for his children, for his palace, for his animals, royal animals, no, like his pet. Now we have pet dogs and pet whatever. So those days they have pet elephants and pet cows and pet horses. Uh, Treasury, money. People very difficult to give up money. People rather give up their life. If they lose their money, they might just kill themselves. Same thing for everything else also. Imagine if we lose any one of these things. For example, personal body means we lose our health, our ability to walk, our ability to do things, right? So much pain, right? But wife, heartbreak, right? So many suicides in the world happens because of heartbreak. So then children, the pain of losing children is very, very terrible, right? Palace, oh, people's house get burnt. People become so attached to their house. My home is my castle, people say, and they make their home into so great and they become so attached to it. Their animals, their pets, some people cry and cry for days. I have students who come and tell me their pets have died, and because of that, they cannot do well in their exam and their assessments. So, we have to do resit assessments. So things like that are there. So treasury, money, friends and relatives, right? All this is easy to understand. An undisputed kingdom, you know, all these things is one thing, but if you had a kingdom which was the greatest in the universe, right? Because when Parikshit Maharaj was here, Yudhishthira Maharaj, Parikshit Maharaj, the kingdom was so wonderful. Even Indra and every other higher planets, they lost in comparison to what was happening on Earth at that time. So undisputed kingdom. So if we had this, not easy to give it up all, right? But look at Parikshit Maharaj. The nature of devotional service is so great. By developing attraction for the Lord, by developing attraction for devotional service, one is able to conquer over deep rooted affection for material things. This is the power of devotional service. So a pure devotee doesn't get affected when any of these things are disturbed. Yes, to some extent, but it's not that they start lamenting. No lamenting. They don't have suicidal thoughts. They don't think, oh, the world is over. They don't think that, okay, there's nothing else I can do. So life goes on. So the focus is very strong. That's why Krishna tells Arjuna, hey Arjuna, just because you're going to kill your family members, does that mean you let go your duty which you have sworn to? So, you cannot just choose, when it's convenient, you'll do your duty. When it's not convenient, you don't. You have to do. So, therefore, we also have our focus in our spiritual life. So that has to continue. That cannot be allowed to become eclipsed by any reversals in any of these situations. In fact, the more reversals are there, the more determined one should be to focus, die hard, all out effort to finish this life with a glorious bang, to go with a bang. And the bang is the bang in devotional service. To go off with a bang in devotional service. That should be our goal in life. So Prabhupada says, but before that, right? So, sorry, before that, yeah, okay. So Parikshit Maharaj, Prabhupada mentions this in his purport. Parikshit Maharaj had all these wonderful blessings, personal body, wife, children, palace, undisputed kingdom, everything by the grace of the Lord. So the Lord was, by his grace, he gave all these things to Parikshit Maharaj. But see the nature of the pure devotee. Because the pure devotee never thinks that these are all his. He always thinks that I am taking care of these things. I'm just a custodian. So, like a custodian who takes care of something until the owner comes. So therefore, when the custodian is removed, he doesn't feel, oh, no worries. So he doesn't feel that I've lost everything. Okay. So by the grace of Krishna, he received everything. And by the grace of Krishna, when everything, he was able to renounce everything also. So that is the nature of devotional service. Right? So um, Prabhupada says here that, but an but an expert devotee can turn everything to the path of light by an attitude of service to the Lord. So this is from Prabhupada earlier. He's mentioning about how attachment to material things, right? Like all this is all material things. Attachment to material things is the path of darkness. That is the path of the Griha Medi. The Griha Medi who is only focused in accumulating these things for his own dominion, for his own glory, for his own satisfaction. So, attachment to this is the path of darkness. It leads towards a dark well. But the path of renunciation is the path of light. So, therefore, but does that mean as in devotional service we give up all these things? So that is the beauty of devotional service. Devotional service, unlike the path of jnana, unlike the meditation path, right, where one has to give up all these things, right? Because he's not taking the mercy of the Lord. So by the mercy of the Lord, Parikshit Maharaj had everything, and by the mercy of the Lord, he is also renounced in his heart. So that's the thing. A pure devotee is not attached, even though he has all these things. What is the secret? What is the secret? The secret is he dovetails everything in the service of the Lord. So he doesn't give up all these things. Because Rupa Goswami says in the Nectar of Devotion that prematurely giving up everything, that is halfway the renunciation. Perfect renunciation is not just giving up and avoiding, that is just halfway. Perfect renunciation is to give up everything, but at the same time able to use everything only for the service of the Lord. Right? So that is pure renunciation. That is perfect renunciation. So therefore, a devotee's life, he doesn't give up his body. In fact, he takes care of his body. Madhvacharya was very, very emphatic about that. People who don't take care of their health, they don't please Madhvacharya. Because Madhvacharya always says, health, take care of your health. We must have a strong body, right? The same thing Bhakti Vinod Thakur says. Bhakti Vinod Thakur also puts health as the first priority. Because without body, you can't do devotional service, right? You cannot do devotional service. You cannot do anything you want. When you're sick, it's so difficult to chant. It's so difficult. When you have a sore throat, when you have a horrible cough, try chanting. But somehow you have to do it, right? So it's very difficult. And there are some devotees I knew last time. They had cancer, and in their later stages, it was so difficult for them to chant, so difficult for them to do anything also in devotional service. So they were lamenting, I cannot do any devotional service. What is the point of my life? Yes, then there is no point to the life. When one cannot do devotional service, then one should just give up the life, right? So, but so long as we have breath in our body, we should be able to do any kind of devotions. Even thinking of the Lord is devotional service. Even thinking of His holy name is devotional service. So, therefore, we can use the body in the service of the Lord. The wife can be engaged in the service of the Lord, the spouse, right? Working together for the pleasure of the Lord. The children can be dovetailed to the service of the Lord. How? When we, for example, we are members of the family, if we can somehow or other connect some members of the family in some devotional service, doesn't have to be big things, even something little bit, even little bit they are able to do something, that is wonderful, right? That is dovetailing everything for the service of the Lord. So in the same way, our house, everything else can be dovetailed in the service of the Lord. That is the secret. And how to do that? So anyway, let's continue here first. So the great sages in Krishna Anubhava, knowing well of his imminent death. So Parikshit Maharaj, Sutta Goswami is telling the sages of Naimisaranya. He says, "O great sages, that Mahamanaha, that great personality, that great Mahatma, Mahamanaha, great Mahatma. Who is he? Who is the great Mahatma? Parikshit Maharaj. That great Mahatma in Krishna Anubhava, that means constantly, raptly thinking about the Lord, always remembering the Lord's lotus feet. In Krishna Anubhava, knowing well of his imminent death, with full faith, Shraddha with full faith, he renounced all sorts of karma, trivargikam. So therefore, he was able to give up all kinds of karma trivargikam. Tri means three, vargikam means the three types of karma which we perform in this life. So actually there are four, right? The first one is called dharma. Dharma means our duty. So we have duties. We have various duties which we perform in order to in our lives, right? We have duties, we have different roles that we play. We have somebody's a father, somebody's a mother, somebody's a parent, so they have different roles to family, to society, to the country, to our working place, to our humanity, to living beings. So like that we have different dharma, but these dharma are all temporary and related to the body, right? So that's dharma. And then by performing dharma, one will develop, by performing dharma, automatically artha will come, wealth. So because how do we get prosperity? Prosperity is not because of anything. Prosperity is because we satisfy our dharma. Chapter 3 Bhagavad Gita makes it very clear. If one performs yagya, right, then there will be rain. And then when there's rain, there will be grains. When there's grain, everything is abundant. Then all that we need is satisfied. So our prosperity depends upon our activity of dharma. But it's only material dharma still. So then so dharma will lead to artha, prosperity. And what will we do with prosperity? So what happens is we take the prosperity and we try to satisfy our senses, right? So karma, we satisfy our lust, our desires, right? So dharma, artha, kama. So these three things, these three vargikam, this karma tri vargikam, dharma, artha, kama, it's what most of the people in this world are doing. Dharma, artha, kama. Some people don't. The problem is people don't, nowadays in modern age, people don't want to do dharma. They want artha either by killing, stealing, or whatever. They want dharma, they want the artha. So nobody is interested in sacrifice. And why do they want artha? Right? Because kama. They want to satisfy their desires. So nowadays, previously in previous yugas, it used to be dharma, artha, kama, but now in Kali Yuga, it's mostly artha, kama, and somehow or other they cheat with different types of dharma. So therefore, you can see the prosperity of the world in general has reduced tremendously. In previous ages, everything used to be in gold. Gold. There used to be lots of gold, lots of silver. Now we have lots of plastic. So we are the plastic age, and many things are going on. So we are losing our prosperity because people are not interested in doing dharma. So anyway, so Parikshit Maharaj, he was fixed, knowing his situation. He was able to renounce all sorts of material dharma, material artha, and material kama, just like that. That's the power of devotional service, pure devotional service. And thus, in absence, can we become empty? Can we just remove everything and become empty? No. Human life is, we cannot remain empty. The mind cannot become empty. It has to be replaced with a higher thing, right? If we throw away, if we renounce lower things, we have to fill it with higher things. So that's the nature of the mind. That's why meditation is so important. It is so difficult because they try to empty the mind artificially without filling it with something. So their idea is first empty the mind, then then they go into Paramatma. So that becomes harder. But our strategy is, our heart is full of rubbish. Okay, somehow or other come to a certain level of purification by following four regulative principles and chanting 16 rounds. And in this way, bring Krishna into our heart. So minimum, so that Krishna can come into our heart. And once Krishna is in our heart, I mean, we are focusing him, we are welcoming him. Of course, he's there as Paramatma, but we are consciously welcoming him in our heart, right, by our endeavors. And as we focus more and more, then what happens is our our taste for towards the Lord increases. And as the taste towards the Lord, when Krishna becomes bigger and bigger in our heart, he will squeeze out all the dirty things. There's no more room for dirty things in the heart. So automatically everything will be removed little by little. As Krishna grows, our heart, the dirty things in our heart, the anarthas in our heart gets removed. So that's what happens because there's no space. So the more we feed Krishna consciousness into our heart, the less space there will be for anarthas. So that's the idea. So, and thus fixed himself firmly, dridam. And this has to come with determination. We cannot achieve this if we don't have determination. So dridam, yeah, Bhagavad Gita, yatantascha drida vritaha. So one has to be determined in this activity, right? And in this way, he was fixed firmly in his natural love, natural because he was born with it, right? Atma Bhavam, right? For Vasudeva Bhagavati, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudev. So he was able to fix this firmly. And what did he do after that? Did he just do nothing? No. See what he says here. See what it says here. After fixing himself firmly in the natural love of Vasudev Bhagavati, then he asked many questions, exactly as you are asking me. So earlier in our previous chapter, right, we heard how Sutta Goswami wasn't satisfied that Sukadev Goswami finished answering his questions. So Sutta Goswami praised Sutta Goswami, sorry, Saunaka Rishi praised Sutta Goswami and said, please speak more, please tell us more. Surely Sukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj were having more conversation. Tell me more. So therefore now Saunaka Rishi is saying, yes, I will tell you more, right? So Parikshit Maharaj also asked these same questions that you are asking. So this is what he did. So what do we understand from this? From this we can understand that ultimately, again, I mentioned this many times already, it has to translate everything that we do in our spiritual life, everything that we do, whether we are selling books, whether we are manning stalls, whether we are manning doing this or doing that, or cutting vegetables, or doing this service, sweeping the floor, whatever whatever that we are doing must translate into desire for chanting and hearing. First hearing, right? Then chanting. If it doesn't, then something is wrong. That means we are creating offenses. So, or we are not doing it correctly, right? Or we are not following the process. So it must come to the point where we are able to follow the regulative principles of bhakti. So it must translate towards, for example, initiation. One has to take up initiation. So if one cannot take up initiation, that means one is not able to follow these things. So why one is not able to follow these things? Because there is not yet attraction sufficiently yet. So therefore one has to do it. So, but sometimes even if we don't have attraction, at least we force ourselves. We force ourselves. Most of us, we forced ourselves. And yeah, by Krishna's grace, by Guru's grace, some little attraction may have been there, right? So, but that's the point. As we feed into it, the attraction will grow and grow and grow, so long as we don't offend. The moment we offend, finish, reset, go back to zero. Reset, go back to zero. And sometimes even go negative. So that's very dangerous. So we have to hear carefully what are the do's and don'ts in devotional service. Very, very carefully. It's not just like you can do all that we do and then say all that we want. And then we say, oh, I've done so much, I've done so much. And then why is my devotional service still at this level? So we have to be very, very focused in this. There's lots of do's and don'ts to be very, very careful about. And that is all described in the Nectar of Devotion. And we can read about it in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the lives of the devotees. So, continuing. So, Prabhupada gives comments. As a great emperor of the world, Maharaj Parikshit had to observe such regulations of the Vedic Karma Kandya section. So, Maharaj Parikshit was a great emperor. So, certainly he had to follow so many things in the Vedas, for the prosperity of the kingdom, for farming, for so many things, varnashram, all these different aspects. But by his slight association with Sukadev Goswami, he could perfectly understand that Lord Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead, Vasudev, is everything. Vasudevam Sarvam Iti. And thus he fixed his mind firmly upon him, renouncing all modes of Vedic karma kandya activities. So that is what a guru will do for us. The guru will tell us, you are nonsense. All that you have done is nonsense. Now do what I'm telling you to do, and in this way you will make progress. So that is what a guru. So we sometimes we don't want to accept guru because we don't want to hear the word nonsense. So guru can pull us in our ears. He can tell us what to do, how to correct us. So that's very important. So therefore, Bhagavad Gita 432, Tadvidi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya. It is important that we must approach a spiritual master and we must take instruction from him. Before that, we will not get instruction unless and until we serve him. So that is very, very important. So without that, it cannot happen. This progress cannot happen. This perfectional stage is attained by a jnani only after many, many births. But with pure devotion, one can very quickly attain this stage if one follows the process carefully. So here, right, so I'm just putting Prabhupada gives a very lengthy purport here, so I'm summarizing that aspect over here. So we have Karma Trivargikam, which is the Dharma, Artha, Kama, which is related to our material activities, right? So these material activities, material Dharma, material Artha, material Kama, these are all temporary engagements. Why temporary? Because they change according to our stages in our life. When we were young, we had different duties. When we are growing up, we have different duties. So and we die, then the duties are changed again. We will have different. When we die, we will take birth again, and we will have a different family. We'll have a different father. We'll have a different mother. We'll have a different child. We'll have a different family. And we've been doing this life after life after life, species after species after species. So and our duties keep changing accordingly also. right? Different persons have different duties. So therefore it's called temporary. But Vishnu Saranagati, or the surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord, and accepting pure Suddha Krishna Bhakti Seva, pure devotional service, this is not temporary. This is the eternal nature of the soul. So if we can do this in our life, just even a little bit, even if a little bit we can do this in our life, do devotional service, then we have invested our efforts in something which is permanent, once for once, because everything else we are doing is not permanent. It's whatever investment that we do is going to go off. But this investment of devotional service is a permanent investment. It will not go ever, right? So therefore, here Parikshit Maharaj giving up everything, because he's going to die anyway in 7 days. So he just gave up everything to take shelter of Vishnu Saranagati. Therefore, it is the perfect activity for him to do. This is the perfect thing that he had to do. So that was what he asked the question to Sukadev Goswami, and Sukadev Goswami told him, this is what you should do. Prahlad Maharaj says the same thing also in Srimad Bhagavatam, right? He also says the same thing. This is the verse, the 7:26. I'm not mentioning it here, but it's basically the same point. So Prabhupada, and then we have more. Prabhupada in his purport, he quotes many different acharyas saying the same things. Here I put a verse from Sripad Madhavendra Puri. The translation of that verse is, Madhavendra Puri is the spiritual master of Ishvara Puri. Ishvara Puri is the spiritual master of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu many times said that Madhavendra Puri is the root of prema. From the root came the tree. The tree is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? So and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is distributing the fruit of prema to everybody. But the root of that tree is Madhavendra Puri. So such a great personality. So he's saying, Madhavendra Puri is saying, "Oh my evening prayer, all good unto you. Oh my morning bath, I bid you goodbye. Oh demigods and forefathers, please excuse me. I am unable to perform any more offerings for your pleasure. Now I have decided to free myself from all reactions to sins simply by remembering anywhere and everywhere the great descendant of Yadu, the Yadava, right? Krishna, and the great enemy of Kamsa, Lord Krishna. I think that this is sufficient for me. So this is the prayer. He sang this in a verse. So the point here is Sarva Dharmam Parityagya, right? Abandon all varieties of religiosity, dharma, and surrender unto me alone. Mam ekam sharanam vraja. Unto me alone, right? Surrender everything to me. Mam ekam sharanam vraja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo. I will save you from all sorts of sin. Moksha ishyami. I will save you. Moksha. I will give you moksha from all types of sins. Moksha ishyami ma suchaha. Don't worry, because you are my friend. So that is the idea behind it. So everything and anything that happens to our lives, we should surrender to the Lord. We should remember the Lord. We should analyze, why is this happening to me? What is the Lord trying to teach me? How can I further, what can I, we have to see how we have to pass each test that comes in our lives. Krishna is giving a test, how each test will lead towards a higher aspect of Krishna consciousness. So we have to see in every situation, we want to score an A, right, in that test. So that is what we must focus on. And very, very carefully, we must, by all things, we should avoid aparad. We should avoid sin, we should avoid aparad. Krishna tells that in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, Durena hi avaram karma. Keep far away avaram karma, all kinds of bad activities, right? Judging people, telling people all kinds of things, scolding people, saying, yeah. So everybody is situated in their situation. So we have to respect everybody. Trinadapi sunichena, humbler than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, right? Giving respect to everyone. Amanina manadina, expecting no respect for myself, for ourselves. Thus, a person can do Kirtaniya Satahari. So that is what we should work towards, and avoiding aparat. So then certainly our devotional service will be successful. So with enthusiasm, with determination, with patience, right? So this is the way to do it. So we have to hear constantly to keep ourselves motivated, and we have to chant to get that spiritual strength so that we can do all these things, right? So that's the idea behind it. And the blessings of the Guru, and in this way, the blessings of Krishna will flow. So then Sukadev Goswami, Suta Goswami continues. He's telling that he's telling the people in Naimisharanya, Parikshit Maharaj is now continuously speaking. Rajo Vacha, so Raja is speaking. O learned Brahmana, Parikshit is addressing Sukadev Goswami now. You are Sarvanyasya, that means you know everything. Sarva Nya. Nya means knowledge, Sarva means everything. Asya means you have. Because you are Anagha. Anagha means without material contamination. So this is a qualification of a guru, right? One who is a spiritual master. He has to know everything. What does know everything means? Know everything means he knows Krishna. Because Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I am the object of knowledge. So one who knows Krishna is to be understood that he knows everything. But at the same time, he also knows everything which is of spiritual knowledge with relation to Bhakti Yoga. So he knows the conclusion of Bhakti fully, right? So that is what is meant also by knows everything. So and thirdly, because he knows the conclusion of Bhakti and because he knows Krishna, he is able to defeat the doubts that we have in our hearts. So that is the third thing, right? And in this way, he is able to guide us towards the Lord. So that is the qualification of a spiritual master. So, and because he has this, and he is Paka, spiritual master is one who acts his talk. He doesn't just talk, he also acts, right? So there is that what's the term? There is forgot the Sanskrit term. Um, Pravicha and forgot the term. Pravicha and Prachar. Sorry, Achar and Prachar. Achar and Prachar. Achar means Prachar means to preach, to speak. So some people very good in preaching, but when it comes to Achar, very poor. They don't show good example, but they preach very nicely to people. But their example is bad. Some people very good Achar, very good example, but very poor preaching because they don't have enough sufficient understanding, knowledge, or whatever. But a spiritual master is one who does both, achar and prachar. So his activities are beyond reproach. He is above the material nature. Therefore, whatever you have spoken to me appears perfectly right. So here we see just now we saw the qualification of a guru. Now we see the qualification of a devotee, of a disciple. The disciple perfectly accepts whatever the spiritual master says, right? So he has faith in the spiritual master. So therefore, whatever you have spoken to me appears perfectly right. And he speaks very respectfully to the spiritual master. So we can understand this. Your speeches are gradually destroying the darkness of my ignorance. So this is the result. Guru plus perfect disciple, result is gradually destruction of darkness, of ignorance. Therefore, we always say, Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya. This is what the Guru does. Ajnana timirandasha. I am born in the darkest of ignorance. Om Ajnana timirandasha. So everywhere is dark. Jnananjana shalakaya. But what you have done, O Guru, you have taken jnana, knowledge, and you have put it in a medicine. This knowledge of jnana, you have put it in a medicine, and you are expertly jnana shalakaya chakshur ummilitam yena. You are expertly administrating this medicine with an expert tool. You are pouring this into my eye like kajal, like eye salve, like medication to my eyes. And in this way, the medication of knowledge is dissipating the darkness of ignorance which I am born in. So this is the prayer, Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. So to that Guru, I offer my respectful obeisances. Right? So this is the result. Your speeches are gradually destroying the darkness of my ignorance. So it takes time, right? So one has to spend his life constantly hearing. Every day one should hear, one should hear, one should hear attentively. One should, as one is hearing, one is thinking also, right? One is processing this in their mind. So and in this way doubts can be destroyed and faith will grow, right? Why? Because you are narrating Harikatha. So all this is Harikatha. Harikatha, so that's where Prabhupada has many things to say about this Harikatha, it is purport. So we'll come to that. So anyway, so Prabhupada is giving a comment here. Reception of the messages of Srimad Bhagavatam from professional men heard by a Karma Kandiya audience never acts miraculously. So that's the point. So when we hear as much as possible that, we in our previous chapter, and also in Canto 1, we talked a lot about the qualification of the speaker and the qualification about the listener. So both is important. So to that extent, we listen to that with that kind of qualities, and to that extent, the person speaks, who is like Sukadev Goswami, right? Then it becomes very powerful. It acts. But if somebody is a professional person means, he prachar is very good. Prachar is very, very polished, but achar is very bad. So that's a professional person. That means he just speaks only. He doesn't follow what he speaks. He has no faith in what he speaks. He doesn't practice what he preaches. So that is a professional person. And sometimes what's worse, they do it in order to gain things, those days, there used to be professional Bhagavatam reciters in India. At least they gain money. But nowadays, we have people who professionally preach in order to gain following, in order to gain position, in order to gain distinction. So this is condemned, right? So then it's no longer pure devotional service. So one has to constantly push these things away. So if the audience is karma kandiya, if the audience is only thinking about satisfying, his material desires of looking for house, money, fame, name, uh, wife, children, material things. If they are only thinking of these things, then it's not going to act powerfully. So, but it will still act, but it will gradually break it down. So Parikshit Maharaj continues. Now he says, I beg to know. So this is what we must do. We must beg to the spiritual master. We must approach him, not in a challenging way, not in a fighting kind of an approach sometimes, So one has to, even if one doesn't understand, or even if one gets chastised by the spiritual master or by the Sri Guru, right? That we have to take it in a humble state of mind. So you can see Parikshit Maharaj, I beg to know from you. So therefore, this is the way to pose questions in a humble state of mind, not in a challenging mood. In the mood of desire of trying to understand, even if one understands. Later we will hear, not today, but we will hear that many of the questions Parikshit Maharaj he puts, it's not that he's ignorant about them. He wants to get a deeper understanding. To get, sometimes when we know something, we think we know everything. But when we hear it again from another person or from someone who has a greater realization or from a great personality, then it becomes reinforced in our heart. It becomes more powerful. It's like double dose. So therefore, it's in spiritual life, hearing things again and again is not a fault. In fact, it is re-emphasizing it, it is reinforcing it, it is remembering the things which we have forgotten. So then it becomes second nature in our mind. So therefore he says, I beg to know from you how Bhagavan, by his Atma Mayaya, creates these phenomenal universe as they are. So he wants to know about creation. And remember, this is called Harikatha. Earlier it was mentioned as Harikatha. So Prabhupada has many things to say about this. We will read that in the purport, or we will save it for our next session. Hmm. But for today, right, Parikshit Maharaj is asking more. He wants to know more about creation, uh, this phenomenal creation, the different universes that are coming from the Atma Mayaya, the energies. Atma Maya means the direct energies of the Lord. Maya also means energy, right? Srijate means to create, which are inconceivable. So the creations which is coming, which is happening, the activities of the Lord are inconceivable. Even the creation itself is inconceivable. What to speak about the process of creating it? And what to speak about the creator who created the process of creating it? Just imagine, the creation itself is inconceivable and amazing. Can you imagine the process that took place to create that? That also must be inconceivable and amazing, right? And can you imagine the person who used that process to create it? Even more amazing, isn't that person? So that's the idea. So which are inconceivable even to the Adishwarai. So this creation is inconceivable even to the Adishwarai, Adi Ishwarai. It comes from the word Adi. Adi means the great personalities, Ishwaras. So the great Ishwaras. Who are the great Ishwaras? Lord Brahma, right? Lord Shiva. So and great personalities. So even to these personalities, they become bewildered to understand the inconceivable Shaktis of the Lord. So therefore, this is what Parikshit Maharaj wants to know. Okay, so with that, we will stop here today. And in our next section, we will continue with further questions from Parikshit Maharaj to this regard. And we will see the answers that Sukadev Goswami will give. So many interesting points here. But Prabhupada will also give many interesting purports. We will present all of that in our next session. So stay tuned. So let us digest everything today by chanting Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for your time. Any questions or clarification you'd like to add?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Krishna, and our pranams to you, Prabhu.
No, thank you very much, Prabhu. Today, no questions.
Mm,
No questions. Thank you very much. Very clear.
thank you. Please give me your blessings so I can continue to speak this for the
Sure,
rest of my
Prabhu.
life. Hare Krishna. Any other questions from anyone? Okay, so if nothing further, so with all your blessings, we will end today. And if you have any, you can always put it in the WhatsApp and we can share it, and or you can just send it directly to me. All right, so have a nice week. and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu, for the
Hare
nice
Krishna. Thank
chant.
you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.